My name is Alex Otte, and I'm from Lexington, Kentucky. I had a pretty normal childhood. I was awkward, and I wanted to be a children's book author. I grew up here in Kentucky and spent summers with my dad here at the lake. I was 13 years old, and I was sitting still on a jet ski right across the narrow lake from my dad's house, right behind where we're standing now. I was sitting still, and there was a 17-foot bass boat coming under a nearby blue bridge, right over there. The boat was going about 70 miles an hour, a speed unheard of on almost any lake, but especially on a lake this narrow. He was headed towards my mom and my brother. My mom screamed. He banked it to the left and never straightened up. He hit me from the side going over 60 miles per hour, threw me off the jet ski. I landed face down in the water. The boat went up over the jet ski and came down on top of my body. I sustained severe, life-threatening, and lifelong injuries from head to toe, including a traumatic brain injury classified as shaken baby syndrome, where my brain shook inside my head and started bleeding in 4 places, and they were unable to make it stop. I shattered my jaw, so my face is almost completely metal from here to here. Broke my neck, broke my collarbone, lacerated my liver, shattered both of my femurs, because when I was thrown off the jet ski, I was holding on so tightly with my legs, I don't remember, but presumably because I was scared, that when I was thrown off, I took the handlebars with me. If you've spent time around a jet ski, you know it's all in piece, and that shouldn't have been possible. They were unable to put my femurs back together, so I now have metal rods in place of bone in both of my thighs. When the boat came down on top of me, the propeller landed on my legs. My left leg was under the water just enough that it only required stitches, but to this day there are very distinct scars where you can see that a propeller was spinning on my leg. My right leg was severed by the propeller. Almost every injury that I sustained, I still suffer with to this day. For nearly a decade, I had at least 1 surgery a year on my jaw just to keep my teeth in. I have neck pain because people aren't meant to break their necks and live to see the day to tell about it. I suffer from severe short-term memory loss as a result of my brain injury, especially when I'm tired, as well as anxiety and PTSD from the crash itself. I wake up every morning and put a leg on. There will never be a single second that I don't suffer from the injuries I sustained that night. It's difficult to articulate the trauma that comes with being a victim of something so preventable. It never gets easier. I always say there are good days and bad days, and most of the time now, the good days outweigh the bad. But there are still days that I don't want to get out of bed in the morning, and no one's allowed to blame me for it, because some man tried to kill me. And that is something you will always live with. It's even more impossible for me to explain the devastation that comes with the realization that it's still happening. Not only that it happened to you, but that we haven't been able to stop it yet, and it's still happening to other people. Every time I see on the news that another family was impacted by drunk driving, every time I'm scrolling Facebook and it pops up, all of the trauma comes back. It never gets easy. My first memory of interacting with MAD was I went to the arraignment of the man that ran me over. He pled not guilty and said, "It's not my fault, she shouldn't have been on the water." I wheeled out of that courtroom in a wheelchair and a neck brace, and a woman from MAD bent down and said, "Honey, are you okay?" That's my first memory of MAD. And after that, I knew that I didn't want this to happen to anybody else. I knew a long time ago that I wanted to be the last little girl this would ever happen to. And I know almost 12 years later that I wasn't. But I will fight for the rest of my life alongside Matt and so many other people who have been impacted to make sure that we see that day. As so many of you know and understand, BUI is DUI. It can kill people, it can hurt people, and it's illegal. There's a reason we have to take drunk drivers off the road and a reason we have to take them off the water. Not only can they hurt people on the water, where things are reckless, we know that people are more impaired drink for drink on the water than they are on the roadway because of so many environmental stressors. Not only that, when they leave the waterway, drunk boaters become drunk drivers. When they return to the water, drunk drivers become drunk boaters. We have to make it so that they cannot hurt anybody. I know the officer who responded to my crash had a hard time with what he saw that night and still does, but he got to see what happened after. When I was named MAD's national president in January of 2021, he messaged me to let me know he was proud of me, and that he never imagined that the little girl he pulled off the water that night would be where I am today. He got to see what happened after. You will never know the lives that people will lead because you are there. There's a reason to take drunk boaters off the water, and it's not just because it's your job. Thank you for everything you do to protect our roadways and our waterways.